So today we are here to discuss Super Bowl 56 between the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, we all watched this game. We obviously all know how it went, and the Los Angeles Rams are your Super Bowl champions for the 2021-2022 NFL season by defeating the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20. Now, this game was, to put this game into one word, I really, off the top of my head, I don't know how to put it. It was a lot of fun. Like, if that was a word to put it in. This game was truly a lot of fun to watch. Like, it was a very good football game that came down to the final drive, the final play of the game, which I thought was a lot of fun. It was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But to be honest, I don't even know where to begin. So let's just look at the Rams side of the ball, with them winning the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, for me as a fan, just watching football, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just a simple fan watching this game. But for me, honestly, going into this game as a whole, I thought the guys on the Rams team, there was more guys that you could easily root for and with the Rams team than you could for the Bengals. Because let's be honest, like, for me personally, there's only one guy on the entire Bengals squad that I was personally rooting for, and that was Joe Burrow. And I think that was most of the people that were rooting for the Bengals that were just football fans. They were rooting for Joe Burrow more than they were rooting for the Bengals. And to be honest, I was rooting for the Rams personally because I thought there was more people that we were rooting for. Now, usually when the Super Bowl ends, we're all sad because, the Bengals lose, we're upset, and we feel bad for their players. To be honest, this Super Bowl, because there were so many guys on that Rams team that won, I really wasn't upset that the Bengals lost. I'll be honest. I was excited that the Rams won. You have so many guys. You have Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ. You had Von Miller. You had Aaron Donald. I mean, you could say what you want about Jalen Ramsey. I mean, there's just guys, because like Jalen Ramsey, he was one game away from the Super Bowl before. So this game as a whole, it was, for me, the Rams were just the more easily team to root for in the Super Bowl. Now, I get it. A lot of people rooting for the Bengals, the city of Cincinnati, that's fine. The city of LA, I could care less to root for the city of LA in this game because honestly, nobody cares about the city of LA when it comes to their sports because the Rams basically have zero fans, and Stan Kroenke, nobody likes him because he just ditched St. Louis, and that's why St. Louis, doesn't have a football team, because he just ditched and moved them back to LA. So a lot of people are mad at him, which is completely understandable, and that for that reason, yeah, nobody likes him. But there's just more guys that are likable for me that played on the Rams squad than it was for the Bengals. And it's nothing against the Bengals. I don't hate any of those guys except for Eli Apple. And I found it really funny that Eli Apple is the one who gave up the final touchdown of the game to Cooper Kupp, because that's just about what he deserves, because he was just going on a rampage on Twitter, just absolutely destroying everybody. And then he gives up the final touchdown of the Super Bowl. And I just find it hilarious, and it just kind of serves him right. And I think he deserves it. I think it's really, really funny. And speaking of the guy who gave it up to Cooper Kupp, he won Super Bowl MVP. Now, if we're talking about this game, yeah, we can talk about the millions of things that Sean McVay, the Rams, were doing that entire game that were very, very frustrating. Just as a fan watching this game, like his stubbornness and his continuousness to just run the football on first down when he was gaining a yard every single time it was beyond frustrating. Like, you're just sitting there and it's just like the Rams and Sean McVay are actively trying to lose this game, because his Super Bowl against the Patriots, well, he admits, he was overthinking it, overcoaching it, and Bill Belichick outcoached him. Yeah, all that's true. But it looked like he was he was being really weird with his play calling. Like, there was absolutely no reason most of the time why he was running the football. Like, he has Matthew Stafford. He still has Cooper Kupp. And yeah, OBJ went down, but I still think you have Cooper Kupp. And a while there, he wasn't even targeting Cooper Kupp, and it was just getting it felt like he forgot Matthew Stafford had him, but the fact that they continue to run the ball on first down every single drive, every time, it made no sense to me. And I think once they finally got away from it, that final 2-minute drive though by Matthew Stafford was clutch, and I think it solidifies, Matthew Stafford for 12 years in Detroit, to leave Detroit, never winning a playoff game, to coming to LA and winning the Super Bowl. It's just insane. 4 playoff wins and winning the Super Bowl. That's just insane to me. It's just awesome to see that, because nobody saw Matthew Stafford play in Detroit because they were never on TV. They always played their noon games. They got their one primetime game of the year. They were buried, like I said, at the noon slot where nobody was watching them except for the local Detroit area and the team they were facing. So nobody ever saw the Lions because they were so bad. And so nobody's got to see that talent for Matthew Stafford. But I think Matthew Stafford, he did struggle at times in this game. Like that interception at the end of the first half was pretty bad, but I mean, it didn't really cost them one way or another. The interception he threw at the beginning of the second half right away on their first play of the second half was really, really bad. But I mean, it wasn't his fault. Like his receiver should have easily caught that. So I mean, the first interception, obviously on Stafford. That second one, I don't think Stafford deserves any of the blame whatsoever for that second interception. That one was not his fault whatsoever. I'm not putting any blame on Matthew Stafford, but I mean, obviously, it's Matthew Stafford. You kind of expected there were going to be some stupid plays that weren't going to break his way in this game, and it did happen, but it didn't cost them the victory. They were still able to come out with the victory, and I know Cooper Kupp won the MVP. I thought there could have been a case for Aaron Donald to win MVP, if I'm being completely honest. Like the Bengals were doing an okay job to start the game on containing Aaron Donald. But once he was mad and they irritated Aaron Donald and he was, upset and he went to a whole nother level. Good luck stopping Aaron Donald. After he got mad with the Bengals, I think it was the play where he pushed Joe Burrow out of bounds and that counted as his first sack of the game. He just went absolutely insane the rest of the game and just pressure after making Aaron Donald mad was probably the worst thing that the Bengals could have done in that entire game. Throughout the entire game, he had 2 sacks. You could argue he had the game-saving play on, I think it was on that 3rd and 1 play that the Bengals decided to call. It was a rush play on their final drive, and then obviously he disrupted the pass for Joe Burrow to end that game. So I agree, if Cooper Kupp won it, I completely agree. If Aaron Donald would have won it, I completely agree either way. Both of those guys deserve it. Cooper Kupp was absolutely clutch in that final play, or that final drive. Matthew Stafford clutch in that final drive. Now, obviously, Stafford doesn't deserve the MVP. He didn't play particularly well at times in this game, but Cooper Kupp, that final drive was just fantastic. That was amazing. And then Aaron Donald wrecking the entire game. I mean, you could argue either way, like I said. I mean, the worst play that Cooper Kupp had the entire night was the fact that he threw an incomplete pass to Matthew Stafford. So, you can't really be upset. And then for the other guys, the Rams, they had an all-out mentality. Like I said, we've already mentioned Matthew Stafford, but they also added Von Miller. They added OBJ this season. And it's just, they went all out, and it worked. Do I think it would have been a failure if the Rams didn't win the Super Bowl this year with everything they did? You know what? That's a loaded question. That's a tough question for me. I don't know if I can answer that question just right now. A failure? I don't know, because, they went to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. I mean, they would kind of hope for the same equivalent with Matthew Stafford. But they went all out, it worked, and all those guys made significant impacts. You look at Von Miller, he came up huge for the Rams, in these playoffs for sure. He had 2 sacks in the Super Bowl. Odell Beckham Jr., before he got injured, he looked like he was destined for a great game. He was playing great. And that Rams offense, once OBJ got hurt, it did not look right at all. It struggled mightily once OBJ went down. So OBJ, he had a huge impact, and everybody's arguing that his dad should be executive of the year and all this stuff. I mean, as a joke, yeah, but I mean, even if you look at it, if it wasn't for his dad, and he wouldn't be there. And no, Baker is not a good quarterback. You look at everything that Odell Beckham has done since he came to LA. I think this is a bad look for a lot of people. It looks bad for the Browns because they think that Baker, he could be a franchise quarterback. But Baker wasn't very good, and it just shows that Odell Beckham Jr. had a whole bunch of talent left in him, and that, Baker, everybody argued that Baker was forcing OBJ the football, and I'm like, well, Baker's the quarterback, so it's not on OBJ, for him to be forcing it all the time. OBJ's there to run his routes. He came to LA, he fit in nicely, he fit in perfectly, so OBJ was never the problem in Cleveland, not even a little bit. And then you look at the rest of the Rams defense, other than Jalen Ramsey, poor guy, everybody talks about him as a top tier cornerback, which I believe he's great. He's really good. But poor Jalen Ramsey, he had probably one of his worst games of his career. I think that touchdown that he gave up to start the very first play of the second half, he gave that one up. Obviously, that was not his fault. I'm not going to put any blame on Jalen Ramsey on that one. That was a clear offensive pass interference call. But I think it was the big play against Jamar Chase, that he gave up a big play there. So Jalen Ramsey, he probably didn't have his best game of his career in that game. But in all, like I said, 7 sacks on Joe Burrow and the all-in mentality. Like the Bengals, or the Rams, I should say, they played a very, very good game. They played great. Their defense was fantastic. Their front 7 is just absolutely insane. Once it got going, like once Aaron Donald, Von Miller started getting going, good luck. You weren't stopping a single thing. You weren't doing anything on offense, the Bengals, once those two guys got going. So defensively, I think the Rams, their defense definitely, at times struggled with Jalen Ramsey. Again, a couple of those weren't really his fault, but when it mattered, the Rams defense definitely stepped up in key situations. And I know I'm talking a lot about the Rams, but because if you look at the Bengals, I was trying to think of like if the Bengals played an okay game, and honestly, they didn't play as well as I thought they were playing okay, but they didn't play as well as I thought they did. Like, if you look at their 4 scoring drives in this game, their first one was a field goal that they scored, and that was the big play, I believe, that Jamar Chase had. But then 3 plays later, they were kicking a field goal. So they get deep into the territory. It looks like they were going to score a touchdown, tie the game up. But then they don't score a touchdown. They have to kick a field goal 3 plays later after that. So the Bengals, that first drive, they didn't look particularly well. I mean, the first touchdown of the game wasn't even by Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon did a lot on that drive where they scored. And then, to start the second half, like they score a touchdown. They didn't deserve that touchdown. Like that was a blatant missed offensive pass interference on the referees and on, I believe it was T. Higgins. Like the refs completely missed that call, and everybody was complaining about the refs at the end of the game with Cooper Kupp and all this garbage. And I'm just like, I mean, cool, whatever, but you literally got a call at the very first play of the second half that was clear as day that was not called. And so I know the refs kind of like got themselves involved at the end of that game. I don't want to put the blame on the refs at all. I know the Logan Wilson penalty didn't look like much, and I agree it really wasn't a whole bunch there. But at the same time, the Bengals literally got away with one of the most obvious calls ever. It didn't get called, and if anything, the Rams have more of a case of why they would have gotten screwed than anything that the Bengals would have. Literally anything. And then their next, drive, they get it. Literally, they score on 1 play, and then the very next offensive play of the Rams, they throw an interception, and the Bengals were only able to score 3 points off of that. So the Bengals offensively, they didn't play particularly well, and Joe Burrow didn't play particularly well, in my opinion. Like 46% of his passing yards came on just a couple of plays. It was the deep pass to Jamar Chase on their field goal drive, and then it was, I believe, it was that T. Higgins pass. And then, he had, I think, 17 more yards or so on their final drive. And then after that, their drive stalled out. So, like, Joe Burrow I didn't think played particularly well. Obviously, he didn't have any help from his offensive line. His offensive line was hot garbage. It was disgusting. It was not helping him whatsoever. He was like, it started off okay. Like at first, like I had a bad time during this game because I kept tweeting things out, and I was like, oh, the Bengals offensive line, did they switch offensive lines with the Rams? And then literally right after I tweeted that, the Bengals offensive line fell apart and Burrow was getting hit on like every single play. So right when I tweeted that out, it went bad for me. Like I was tweeting out a whole bunch of other things, and then like immediately after that, the opposite would happen. And I'm just like, what is this, man? Like I thought I was saying something intelligent, and then all of a sudden the very next play, something opposite would happen. So it was very, very dumb on my part. But yeah, Joe Burrow, he has no protection. But at the same time, I don't think you can chop it up to just the protection. Like, they were playing okay to start the game. Like they were containing Aaron Donald. Like he wasn't getting much pressure. He was able to, make a few plays here and there. But the offensive line just fell apart. So it was a whole collapse on offense for the Bengals, if you could say it that. I mean, Joe Burrow throughout these entire playoffs, he didn't put up monster numbers. Like they were all very close games. They all came down, to a couple last second field goals, all these things. So I mean, the Joe Burrow these playoffs didn't play as well as I thought people were giving him credit as he was playing. He's still very, very good. Like, we're not doubting that. He made it to the Super Bowl. Like, that's insane. That's hard to do. Like, some people never made it back, like Dan Marino. But I still think, like, a little bit of that extra stuff that the media was talking about with Joe Burrow. I was like, he didn't play particularly well these entire playoffs, and then he didn't play particularly well in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, you could all chop it down. Like, if once they get an offensive line, I think the Bengals are going to be really, really hard and tough team to beat in the future coming up. So the Bengals, they have a very bright future. They just got to be able to obtain a few of the guys that are leaving. Like, apparently Eli Apple's a free agent, though. That would be one guy I'd let go, because Eli Apple was the main reason why they lost this game. For sure. Like, he's obviously, I think, their worst defensive player, and it's not even close. Like, Eli Apple put himself in this pickle, and it kind of showed tonight, which I think is absolutely hilarious that he would do that. So the Bengals, they definitely have things that they have to work on heading into next season, but they still have Joe Burrow, and I still think that he's going to be great for the city of Cincinnati, for the Bengals. But the AFC as a whole is extremely stacked. I would not want to be a quarterback in the AFC right now. You have, if I'm just going down this list, you have Josh Allen, and I know Mac Jones isn't much, but you have Mac Jones. When you combine him with Bill Belichick, basically anything is possible. You have Justin Herbert, you have Joe Burrow himself, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have a whole bunch of other quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson. Like, it is going to be a dogfight for years in the AFC, and Joe Burrow is just one of them. So if I'm any of those guys that are considering leaving my team in the NFC, I would not leave them unless you are moving to another NFC team. Like Aaron Rodgers, if you're leaving Green Bay, go to San Francisco. You know, Russell Wilson, if you're really going to leave, go to New York. Like, stay away from the AFC. I go to the Giants if I'm Russell Wilson. There is no reason to go to the AFC right now. It is a dogfight, and if it's literally down, in my opinion, to like 3 quarterbacks in the NFC, it's Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, and Russell Wilson. Like, there's three quarterbacks that people would consider very good in the NFC right now. So if I'm those 3 guys, I'm staying put, because I do not want to face any of these guys coming up in the AFC unless it's in the Super Bowl, because it's just a dogfight, and it's a gauntlet of quarterbacks in the AFC. But congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams for winning Super Bowl 56. They've had one heck of a season. They're all-in mentality. Everything they did. Les Snead, I think he deserves a lot of credit. He's a great GM. He did a great job, from signing Matthew Stafford to getting OBJ to getting Von Miller. Like, he did a fantastic job, and finding other talent along the way. You know, he's done a great job. You know, obviously you have guys like Cooper Kupp, Andrew Whitworth, Jalen Ramsey who are there. You have Aaron Donald, obviously, who, if he does retire, like, he what a career he has. Like, one of the better defensive players I've probably ever seen in my lifetime. Like, just insane. Like, I know people were sleeping on him going into the Super Bowl, and I'm just like, how can you sleep on a guy that's literally getting double teamed every single play? It's just, I don't think that's a fair criticism of Aaron Donald that he's bad, but when you're getting double teamed every single play, you deserve more love than most people would get you. But yeah, that is my thoughts on Super Bowl 56. I thought it was one heck of a way to go out with this season. Every game, it felt like in these playoffs, were coming down to the last few seconds of every one of these games. The Super Bowl was no different. Didn't disappoint. Yeah, there was a lot of punting, but there was also a lot of, things that it wasn't just punting. There was a lot of questionable decisions that we could all call out from both teams. Like Zach Taylor's final drive was just absolutely brutal. Terrible play calling. You gain 9 yards on first down, and then you take a shot on second down, and then you run on third down. You get stuffed by Aaron Donald, then you pass on fourth down, and then Aaron Donald stuffs you again. So there was a lot of questionable play calling on both sides of this ball. But Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp came up clutch on that final drive, scoring a touchdown, and helped the Rams defeat the Bengals in Super Bowl 56 to become Super Bowl champions. Give me your thoughts down below of what you thought of Super Bowl 56. I'm very sad football is over. I don't know what I'm going to do for the next 7 months. Probably cry. Not really. But give me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.